yes. Once and always. And if I had it my way right now, I would have some of my other Ranger stuff since I got from Japan. But I do, however, have this. Now, someone actually won this a long time ago. It was in a tournament thing, but it was something that people put on. Now, it's a little beat up through the years. It was actually beat up before I got it and stuff. It was missing this, and this part was broken. But I still cherish it because that White Ranger power. I am, at some point, going to get that Legacy one, either the black one or white one. I do want it, but this used to make noise. I have to see if it still works, because I used to have, like, batteries here. Like I said, I won this, we were playing this game tournament thing, and I ended up winning it. But it was beat up from the door. It was a bunch of us friends. We were like, all right, we're going to put this up for the prize. Yeah, but I felt this was definitely worth it. And like I said, I will be getting another one, but I would never get rid of this. But I will be having some more Power Ranger memorabilia from the old school one. But you see the shirt. You know what time it is. It's time to talk about that once and always. So I'm going to keep this, I'm going to talk about it. And there's a partial spoiler thing, but it shouldn't have been if you watch the trailer. But I'm going to try to keep it free. But I think that this series, this special, whatever you want to call it, I think it was a special, was epic. Okay? It had the balance of where it didn't feel like it strayed too far from the old Power Rangers, but it definitely aged it up. It still had its little, kind of hokey moments, but they were proper, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't feel like corny. It felt nostalgic. They didn't sit there and do, like, I can't believe it, yeah! It was more like, I can't believe it, yeah. It had some dark things in it. I need to say this right now. Robo Rita was a whole savage. And I don't say that lightly. The stuff Rita was, she was saying, the stuff coming out of her mouth, I'm like, really, Rita? So you really had to say that? You really had to take it there? Is that what we gonna do today? Is that what right, Saba? Is that what we gonna do today? I was like, for real, Rita, you just gonna say stuff like that? Cause she would, anytime she could turn that knife, she'd do it just, yeah, she's like, yeah. She was like, yeah, I'll take you up, like your mom. Or like, yeah, like, yeah, I guess Trini ain't gonna be here today, like stuff like that. I was like, no, don't say that. It felt like a world-ending kind of threat. It was really cool to see where the characters were. You find out like where Zach is in life. They talk about, and this isn't totally a spoiler because if you've been watching the series, he actually has shown up, and you had the Book of the Dragon or Path of the Dragon with Tommy's son, JJ. Like they mentioned that, and they kind of referenced that back. And I think the last time he was referenced was in the episode of Ninja Steel. I remember on the comm they told me I had to put his bike away or something like that. But I do remember Ninja Steel, they mentioned him, and then there was a thing later they talked about SPD. If you don't know, if you haven't read the book, there is a whole thing about him being a ranger. You can look him up. It's actually really cool how they took this story and it kind of matched it in. The old Rangers, like you heard stuff, they did that fantastically. The Bandora Protocol, which I thought was cool because that was her name in the Japanese Super Sentai series. So they did these little references. They harked back to reference other things and like stories progression forward. Things when you saw Aisha and Adam, which Adam will always be one of my favorite Rangers. And I love Aisha, so it was cool to see them. And the thing is, and I felt like they were referencing SPD and space, since by this point we had Space Rangers and SPD. You got to see some other Rangers. A couple of them, it's like, wait a minute, did somebody take this new power? Because we saw the Rangers here. And these Rangers were those Rangers. But they're there. And you got to see some like really cool things, so it was like a semi-crossover, but it mainly focused on Mighty Morphin. It was great to see Rocky and where Rocky is at and Cat, and just all around. It was a fun time. It was nostalgia. but it was like, it didn't feel like nostalgia bait. It felt like nostalgia awesome, if that makes sense. I also like the fact that they polished up the CG, but they didn't polish it so much that it felt out of place. It was like, it still had this little bit of hokiness to it, but it made sense, and it should be, because to polish it that far with something that old would have felt weird. So it was like they everything they did was perfect. And yes, for all the people complaining or that's going to complain, there is a quick LGBTQ thing. I actually thought it was really cool. I thought it fit, and it didn't hurt anything, and it didn't like hinder. It was like, it just looked at it from, oh, okay, that's what happened. Now, like I said, the reason why I'm only mentioning it, because I know there's going to be some people like, they had to put it in there. I'm like, it really wasn't, it could have been anything, and it would have still worked. What they conveyed, it just happened to do that way. They wanted to give a little tip of the hat to that community. I don't think see nothing wrong with it. Especially because, you know, one of the Rangers in this series in real life is a part of that community, so I actually think that was really cool for them to do that, but that's just me personally. I loved where Billy was. I thought the girl that played Trini's daughter, I think her name was Charlie, she did a fantastic job. I think we can get more stories with this. They kind of mentioned where the Ranger Dino power is, but I do remember they did kind of restore the grid a little bit, so you know, there's ways you could have worked that. Especially because right now in the current series, Zed is back, so I'm wondering if they're going to use this to kind of launch pad of that stuff, and I just think it was really cool. I thought it was wonderfully done. Everything, it had the feels, but yet it was updated. The fighting was great. I thought the choreography was awesome. They still did the little quick, you sometimes you see how they were fighting, the putties. It actually showed that sometimes when you hit the putties, it kind of hurt a little. So I thought that was a nice little touch. All in all, the story was solid. They dealt with adult themes, but didn't make it too adult. That is, it's inapproachable for a child. I caught the feels. Like, there were certain times they would talk about stuff, and they really gave Trini a lot of love, and you felt it, and it kind of like just hit you. There were some deep moments, and they did not pull back from when Trini passed away. Like, it was, she died like a hero. You've seen it in the thing, but they didn't shy away from it at all. It felt hurt, and you felt it throughout, and they mentioned it. Like, you could see the daughter's pain and stuff, and I thought that was great, but it didn't feel like it beat you over the head with it. So you had the moments, and you felt the moments, and then they pushed to the next thing. Unlike Wakanda Forever, where it was like they just kept trying to beat you over the head with it. This felt like you felt it and it moved on, but when the things got epic, it felt amazing. All in all, because I'm not even trying to hold it long, go watch it. It's like an hour. It's just great television. It was so cool to see this version of the team. Zach and Billy kind of took the lead as the old school people, and it was great to see that. And you got to really feel like Billy never left, Zach never left. It's just who they are. And all in all, this is a flat out blew my mind. I loved every second of it. I thought it was great. I want more. I wouldn't mind them doing this again. I hope this time around, Jason and Kimberly, Amy Jo, and them could like come in here in Austin. I'm talking about Amy Jo in Austin. Could come in. They had this really wonderful thing at the end that harked back to a specific episode where they all were together, and it was this beautiful magic moment. Trust me, you'll see it, and I remember that episode, and I thought it was like perfect because it was towards, I think it was towards the season before Tommy became the White Ranger. So that was just wonderful, and they dedicated this to both. Like Tommy and Trini, and it's hardcore, and I thought it was just I just thought it was great. So I know Jason David Frank's daughter wants to become the Green Ranger, and I know some people will argue because there's JJ, and I'm like, there's multiple ways you can make this happen. You could do alternate timeline. It could be his niece from When his brother showed up, it could be his niece to take up the mantle. I would love to see them do a special this time around where if they wanted to do something to celebrate Tommy and to have that situation happen, they totally could. They could actually do the Path of the Dragon storyline with Tommy if they wanted to kind of play with that. So all I can say is, like I said, it blew my mind. I loved it. I actually have watched it twice now. That's the best I could do without going into deep details, but the fighting was great. The choreography was great. It felt nostalgic. And the Rangers were still Rangers. They still got it. You got to see the full secondary team outside of Tommy, like with Aisha, Adam, Rocky, Kat, with the original 2 that were in there. Like, it was just really nice, and I thought it was great. And there was stuff that they set up in a way to put people in positions where I feel like they could touch this again, and I kind of hope they do. Geek Protagonist, you stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. And I always get this episode mixed up with Once a Ranger, always, but this is Always a Ranger. So I guess because they did the episode of Once a Ranger, so this is Always a Ranger. And may the power protect you, especially in these hard times. See ya.